Catch up with the Minister for Veterans Affairs, Nationals MP Darren Chester. Thanks for joining us, Darren. Lots to get through to with you. First up, that call from rural doctors for more government effort to support GPs going into regional areas. Surely that's an issue close to your heart. Do you think there could be more activity here from government?
Oh, absolutely. I heard John's comments from the Rural Doctors Association, and I've got to say I found myself nodding in agreement with a lot of things he said. Now, last year we announced a stronger rural health strategy, which has, I think, in the order of $550 million to get 3,000 additional doctors and 3,000 additional nurses into our rural and regional areas. But obviously that takes time in terms of the training programs. In the meantime, we do have a shortage. We have a shortage of health professionals in our regional areas, and it comes about for a range of reasons. One is the ageing nature of the health workforce. So a lot of doctors are retiring and not finding necessarily enough younger ones coming through. And also comes about through some of the overseas trained doctors having spent some time in the country end up wanting to go back to the city where their families are probably based. So that hasn't necessarily provided a long-term answer. But there's things that are happening, some really positive things are happening, but I do believe we need to look at some more innovative approaches as well. What
about you serve 5 years in a regional area and your HECS debt is wiped? Something innovative like that?
Well, Chris, I think those sort of innovative approaches are the ones that need a very close examination, because it's not actually achieving what we want to achieve at the moment. Now, whether it's even looking at the Medicare provider numbers being available on the basis of postcodes, it's something that the Rural Doctors Association has raised with me in my own electorate. Their argument being that there's plenty of doctors in the city, there's plenty in the city, but it's a maldistribution of doctors at the moment. We need to get some of them out to those rural and regional areas. And we're not even talking about remote Australia. We're talking about large provincial centres, only an hour or two from some of the capital cities, struggling to attract GPs at the moment. Indeed. I think there's also, Chris, some more work we can do on our nurse practitioners. We've got some very highly talented, very capable nurses in our regional areas who have a scope of works they can do right now. But if we could find ways to broaden that scope of works, I think that might also be a way to provide quality health services in our regional areas.
Now, on to the drought. The National Farmers Federation pushing for these farm exit payments. Isn't it better to be focusing on keeping not just farmers, but I suppose their families on their properties?
My first priority, look, I represent a rural electorate, Gippsland in eastern Victoria, and we're a bit dry at the moment as well. Not in the same league, I've got to say, as central New South Wales and Queensland, but my focus is on making sure I can help my farming families get through this, get through to the other side of the drought where they can be prosperous and viable into the future. We want quality Australian grown food available to us, and for that we need farmers. So we want to keep as many on the land as we can, and we help them through this drought situation. There may be some others, and so I don't want to be dismissive of the NFF. There may be some others who are towards the end of their farming career who have had such a bad run where they've lost a lot of equity in their property. Giving them a way to retire or to leave the land with their dignity intact, I think is worth exploring. But for a lot of my younger farmers in my region, our challenge is to make sure they're viable in the longer term and they get through this rough patch.
It's a bit unedifying when the drought is so critical, yet the Nats seem to be arguing about their leadership, isn't it?
Oh, look, I said this yesterday. Any second, any minute, any hour we spend talking about ourselves, particularly right now when our farming families are out there battling the drought, any minute, second or hour we spend talking about ourselves, the Australian public will mark us down. Look, I think it's largely a bit of a show about nothing. People making a bit of noise behind the scenes. I haven't seen them in front of the cameras and raise any concerns. My colleagues, the team of people who come here from all around Australia, they're people with big personalities, big ideas for the future of the country. And I said yesterday, sometimes they bump into each other, but it's not really a big deal for me. I think my colleagues are mainly focused on doing their job for regional Australians.
Something that is worth talking about is something that you and I have discussed on this program before, and that is this recognition for veterans. Now, the legislation's passed Parliament now where veterans, if they choose, can wear an identifying badge, and then the rest of us can give them a discount or just thank them for their service.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And it's an issue that we've been working on in the lead up to the election. Didn't quite get the legislation through before we went into caretaker mode. So to have the support of the opposition, so it had bipartisan support when it went through the House of Reps yesterday, was really important. It's a veterans recognition and respect package. It's symbolism. I accept it's mainly symbolism. It's about having that lapel pin available if they want to wear it. It's having a veterans card, a nationally identifiable card available that businesses may want to give some discounts to veterans if that's their choice. And we've had a number of businesses register their interest, and I'll have a lot more to say about that in the weeks ahead. And it's also about what we've called the Veterans Covenant, which is really our obligation as people who haven't put on the uniform. What are our obligations on a daily basis in terms of respect and recognition of our servicemen and women? So it is largely symbolic, and you've got to back it up with practical action, but I'm confident that some of the work we're doing in our Veterans Affairs Department with our ex-service organisations, particularly with our younger veterans when they transition, I'm pretty confident we're making some good steps forward, and they're working very practically, constructively together. But the Veterans Recognition Package, I think, is just another additional way we can say thank you for your service, thank you for your service to our country, thank you for keeping us safe in an often challenging world environment.
I've got to tell you, another innovation that the Prime Minister has taken up, and I've seen this at a couple of events I've been to. He gets up at the start when he speaks, he recognises the Indigenous, the traditional owners of the land, and then he also recognises any service people, any veterans who would be in the audience. I think that's a fantastic nod of appreciation, and one that I hope the government adopts more broadly. Thanks for joining us, Darren.
Well, Chris, I'm biased. I love it when he says it as well, so I think it's good for our serving men and women.
Great stuff.